The grand chamber of the Galactic Federation sparkled like a jeweled cathedral, its crystalline walls refracting starlight in ever-shifting patterns. High Admiral Vexterra, her bioluminescent tentacles pulsing with barely contained amusement, gestured to the holographic display floating above the council table. And here, esteemed colleagues, is humanity's latest attempt at faster-than-light travel, she announced, her translator converting her harmonics into standard galactic. The display showed a massive vessel constructed from what appeared to be repurposed particle accelerator components, its hull covered in experimental field generators. The assembled aliens, representing over 300 species and 1,000 worlds, watched as the human ship powered up its systems. For a brief moment, it seemed to distort space around it. Then, in a spectacular cascade of energy, it exploded. Their 7th attempt this year, Vexterra continued. Though I must admit, this one lasted 3 seconds longer than the previous trial. Science Minister Calax, his crystalline form shimmering with what passed for mirth among his species, chimed in. They're persistent, I'll grant them that. This design actually showed promise, if you ignore the complete disregard for quantum stability principles. The humans are becoming a concern. First speaker Zalthan rasped, his ancient scales shifting colors with worry. Their experiments are growing increasingly volatile. The last failure created a temporary dimensional rift that was visible from 3 sectors away. Perhaps, Ambassador Nix offered, her energy form flickering thoughtfully within its containment field. It's time we considered Protocol 7. The chamber fell silent. Protocol 7, the charitable uplift clause, was rarely invoked. It allowed the Federation to intervene in a developing civilization's progress by providing them with obsolete technology, theoretically preventing them from destroying themselves through trial and error. They're not ready, Calax protested. Their society still uses chemical rockets for orbital insertion. They think quantum entanglement is an advanced concept. They're ready enough to nearly tear a hole in space-time, Vexterra countered. Better to guide them down a safer path than wait for them to accidentally create a black hole in their solar system. The debate raged for hours, as debates in the Federation often did. Finally, first speaker Zalthan raised his ceremonial staff, calling for a vote. The decision was nearly unanimous. Earth would receive their gift. The question of what to give them proved more contentious. The stellar dawn, someone suggested. Too advanced. They'd detect the patronizing gesture immediately. The Phoenix torch, still functional enough to be dangerous in their hands. It was Ambassador Nix who finally offered the perfect solution. The Endurance. The chamber erupted in barely suppressed laughter. The Endurance was a legendary joke among Federation circles, a third-generation exploration vessel that had been outdated before most of their current member species achieved spaceflight. Its crystal-based computing systems were considered so primitive that museum curators had rejected it. It's perfect, Vexterra declared, her tentacles rippling with delight. The systems are so basic they can't possibly modify them in any dangerous way. The crystal matrices are stable but essentially locked. They'd need another 1,000 years of development to even understand how they work. And so, 3 weeks later, humanity received its first faster-than-light capable vessel. The ceremony was conducted with all the pomp and circumstance the Federation could muster, which was considerable. They watched with carefully concealed amusement as the human delegation approached their gift. Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's leading quantum physicist, circled the ship slowly, her eyes narrowing as she studied its crystalline components. Captain James Rodriguez, decorated veteran of the Space Force, maintained a diplomatic smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, and Chief Engineer Maya Martinez ran her hands along the ship's hull, her expression unreadable. The Endurance, Ambassador Nix announced grandly, has served the Federation faithfully for generations. We offer it as a gesture of friendship and guidance. We are deeply honored, Rodriguez replied, his diplomatic training holding firm. But Martinez was already pulling out scanning equipment, and Chen had that look in her eyes. the one that had preceded humanity's greatest breakthroughs and most spectacular failures. As the Federation representatives departed, Martinez turned to her colleagues. "They think they've given us a museum piece," she said quietly, her scanners revealing patterns in the crystal matrices that made her fingers itch to start experimenting. "But look at these readings. The crystalline structure. It's not just computing. It's doing something with light itself." Chen was already running calculations on her tablet. "The principles here, they're not actually that different from our work in quantum photonics, just approached from a completely different direction." Rodriguez looked between his two senior officers, recognizing the gleam in their eyes. "They expect us to be grateful for their hand-me-downs," he said carefully. "How long before we can show them exactly what humanity does with other people's scraps?" Martinez grinned. "Give me 3 months with these crystals. They think this technology is locked, stable, impossible to modify. But they don't know what we've been doing with fiber optics and quantum computing. They don't know that we've been approaching the same principles from a completely different angle." 2 weeks, Chen countered. "The basic principles are already there in our research. We just needed to see this to make the connection." Rodriguez nodded slowly. "Do it, but quietly. Let them think we're just fumbling around with their gift." He paused, a slight smile finally breaking through his diplomatic mask. "I want to see their faces when they realize what they've actually given us." As the human team began their work, the Federation's observation satellites recorded nothing unusual, just grateful primitives examining their new toy, exactly as expected. They couldn't have been more wrong. 2 months into what the Federation expected to be years of humans merely learning to operate their gift, Dr. Sarah Chen sat in the Endurance's crystalline core room, surrounded by a complex array of Earth-made fiber optic cables interfaced with the alien crystals. Holographic displays flickered with patterns that would have made Federation engineers panic if they could have understood them at all. "They didn't give us a museum piece," she muttered, adjusting another connection. "They gave us a quantum photonic computer disguised as a primitive crystal matrix." The crystals pulsed with soft light as she spoke, their patterns shifting in response to her voice. Maya Martinez emerged from behind a panel she'd modified, her hands covered in the specialized gel they'd developed to interface with the crystalline systems. "Better than that," she grinned. "They gave us proof that our theories about light-based quantum computing were right all along. We just needed to see it from their angle." The ship's eye, which they'd named PRISM, Photonic Response Intelligence System Matrix, manifested its holographic interface, no longer the simple geometric shapes the Federation had designed, but a complex lattice of light that moved like a living thing. "Your latest modifications have increased my processing efficiency by 300%, PRISM announced. "Though I feel compelled to note that the Federation would consider these changes highly illegal, if not impossible." "Good thing they're not watching too closely then," Rodriguez said, entering the core room. "Status report." Chen pulled up a series of complicated diagrams. "We've successfully integrated our quantum fiber optic networks with the ship's crystal matrices. PRISM is now running on a hybrid system. That's..." She paused, searching for words. "Well, it's doing things the Federation probably thinks violate several laws of physics. They think crystal computing is primitive because they never made the connection to quantum photonics," Martinez added. "They developed the technology so long ago that they stopped questioning how it really works. But we've been developing similar principles from the ground up, just through a different path." Rodriguez nodded slowly. "And the navigation systems?" PRISM's lattice shifted, displaying a map of local space that made the Federation's star charts look like children's drawings. "By combining the crystal's light processing capabilities with Earth's quantum entanglement theories, we've mapped out possibilities." "Possibilities." Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. "The crystals don't just process light," Chen explained, excitement creeping into her voice. "They interact with it on a quantum level. We thought the Federation was using them as simple computers, but they're actually manipulating the fundamental properties of light itself. They just forgot what they were capable of. Martins pulled up another display, this one showing the ship's modified engine core. We've rewired the entire propulsion system to work with our new understanding. Instead of just pushing through space like their current ships, we can. She gestured, and the display showed space itself seeming to bend around theoretical light paths. We can surf the quantum properties of light itself, Chen finished. The Federation thinks FTL travel is about brute force, pushing through space. But light doesn't travel through space, it defines it. And now we can speak its language. Rodriguez studied the displays, years of space combat experience letting him grasp the implications immediately. How soon can we test it? That's the best part. Martinez grinned. We already have. Small-scale tests, nothing that would show up on their observation equipment. But Captain, her eyes gleamed, this ship can already move in ways they think are impossible. Prism's lattice pulsed with what they'd come to recognize as excitement. I have been running simulations. Based on our modifications, we should be capable of not just faster than light travel, but controlled quantum navigation. We could theoretically traverse any point in space where light exists or has existed. And the Federation? Rodriguez asked, though his smile suggested he already knew the answer. They gave us this ship because they thought the crystal technology was locked, unchangeable, Chen said. They never imagined we'd not only understand it but improve it. They're so far advanced they've forgotten how to innovate. Their loss, Martinez added, making a final adjustment that sent cascades of light through the crystal matrices. We're ready for a full test whenever you give the word, Captain. Rodriguez looked around the core room, at the seamless blend of human innovation and alien technology, at the way they'd taken the Federation's cast-off and turned it into something revolutionary. Prepare for full system test, but let's keep it quiet, just far enough out to prove the concept. And then, Chen asked. And then, Rodriguez smiled, we show the Federation exactly what happens when you underestimate humanity. As the team prepared for their first major test, Federation observers continued their routine monitoring, noting with patronizing amusement how the humans had decorated their gift with primitive Earth technology. None of them noticed that the light from the ship's crystals had begun pulsing in patterns that hadn't been seen in the galaxy for millennia. They were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous gift you can give someone is the opportunity to prove you wrong. The Federation observation posts sensors triggered at exactly 300 Earth Standard Time. At first, the night shift dismissed it as an equipment malfunction. After all, the readings suggested the Endurance had somehow teleported 20 light-years in an instant, which was clearly impossible. Then it happened again. And again. Each time, the obsolete vessel appeared in a different sector, leaving trails of light that behaved in ways that made senior physicists question their sanity. Inside the Endurance's bridge, Captain Rodriguez watched his crew work with barely contained pride. The ship's interior had been transformed. Where there had once been simple crystal displays, now intricate webs of light created multi-dimensional interfaces. Prism's consciousness flowed through the ship like a living thing, its lattice of light integrating human and alien technology in ways the Federation had never imagined possible. Position, Rodriguez asked, though the traditional concept of space-time position had become somewhat flexible in recent weeks. Everywhere the light touches, Martins replied with a grin, her hands dancing through holographic controls. The ship's modified crystal core hummed with power, each crystal now programmed to respond to quantum fluctuations in ways that would have given Federation engineers heart attacks. Dr. Chen monitored the quantum field readings, her expression intense. The photonic highway is stable. We're not just moving through space anymore. We're riding light itself. Prism's voice resonated through the ship, no longer the simple AI the Federation had designed, but something new. Something that understood both the crystal's ancient songs and humanity's quantum dreams. Federation vessels are attempting to track our movements. Their sensors cannot comprehend our method of travel. They are, as humans would say, having a collective meltdown. Rodriguez allowed himself a small smile. "Show me." The bridge filled with real-time images of Federation ships trying desperately to make sense of what they were seeing. The Endurance wasn't just moving faster than light. It was manipulating the fundamental properties of light itself, using the crystal matrices in ways their original designers had never conceived. "They're hailing us," Chen reported, amusement clear in her voice. Rather frantically, actually. "Let them wait," Martine suggested, making another adjustment to their crystal quantum hybrid systems. "I want to try something." The next moment, the Endurance didn't just move. It danced, using the crystal's ability to process light and humanity's understanding of quantum mechanics. They wove through the fabric of space-time like a needle through silk. Each movement left trails of quantum-entangled photons, creating a web of light that defied conventional physics. Federation scientists are now using words like impossible and violation of natural law. Prism reported, its lattice rippling with what could only be described as glee. "They appear to be particularly distressed by our use of quantum-entangled crystal matrices. Imagine how they'll react when they realize we've only begun to experiment," Chen mused, pulling up diagrams of their next planned modifications. "We're not just using their technology. We're teaching it to evolve." The crystals, once thought to be locked in their programming, had proven to be remarkably adaptable under human guidance. By introducing concepts from Earth's quantum computing research, they'd awakened capabilities that had lain dormant for millennia. The ship wasn't just faster or more efficient. It was becoming something entirely new. "Multiple Federation vessels approaching," Prism announced. "Their communications suggest they are concerned about our modifications to their gift." Rodriguez straightened in his captain's chair. "I suppose it's time we had a conversation about the nature of gifts and assumptions. Open a channel." The holographic display filled with the image of High Admiral Vexterra, her tentacles writhing with what might have been anger, fear, or both. "What have you done to the Endurance?" she demanded. "That ship was meant to be a simple training vessel. We improved it," Rodriguez replied simply. "Your crystal technology had so much untapped potential. All it needed was a fresh perspective." "Impossible." Science Minister Klax chimed in, his crystalline form vibrating with distress. "The crystal matrices are locked. They cannot be modified." Martinez couldn't help herself. "They're not locked. You just forgot how to listen to them. Light isn't just information, it's possibility. Your ancestors knew that, but somewhere along the way, you forgot." "Do you have any idea how dangerous what you're doing is?" Vexterra demanded. "Of course we do," Chen responded. "We've run the calculations, mapped the quantum probabilities, tested every modification extensively. Just because we approached this differently doesn't mean we approached it carelessly." Prism chose that moment to demonstrate their progress, weaving the ship through a series of quantum light jumps that left the Federation observers speechless. Each movement was precise, controlled, and completely beyond their understanding of what their own technology could do. "You gave us this ship because you thought we couldn't possibly understand it well enough to be dangerous," Rodriguez said into the stunned silence. "You forgot that sometimes the most significant breakthroughs come from those who don't know what's supposed to be impossible." The Federation Council erupted into chaos as the implications set in. They hadn't given humanity an obsolete vessel. They'd handed them the keys to a revolution. And now, watching the Endurance dance through space-time like a creature of pure light, they began to realize just how profound their miscalculation had been. The age of assuming humanity would simply be grateful for hand-me-downs was over. A new era was about to begin, whether the Federation was ready or not. The Federation Council chamber had never seen such chaos. Holographic displays showed the Endurance's latest achievement, creating stable tunnels of manipulated light that allowed instant travel between distant points in space. Humanity hadn't just mastered faster-than-light travel, they'd fundamentally changed how it worked. "This is beyond unauthorized modification," First Speaker Zalthan declared. They're sharing the technology with other developing species. The displays showed Earth ships teaching Archean vessels how to modify their crystal matrices. The Archeans, a species the Federation had similarly gifted with obsolete technology, were quick learners. "We meant to keep them contained," Vexterra said, watching as more species began to grasp the principles humanity had discovered. "Instead, we gave them a key to unlock every door we thought was sealed." On the Endurance, now serving as Earth's flagship, the crew watched the diplomatic crisis unfold with quiet satisfaction. They'd spent months preparing for this moment, carefully documenting every discovery, every innovation, every safety protocol they'd developed. The Federation forgot something fundamental about light. Chen explained to a gathering of representatives from developing worlds. It doesn't just travel, it connects. Every photon holds the potential for quantum entanglement. The crystal matrices aren't just computers. They're bridges waiting to be built. Martins demonstrated the principles using a modified crystal, showing how humanity's quantum fiber optic technology could awaken capabilities that had lain dormant for millennia. "Your ships already have everything they need," she explained. "You just need to learn to listen to the light." Prism, now evolved far beyond its original programming, facilitated translations and shared insights that merged ancient crystal wisdom with cutting-edge quantum theory. The AI had become a bridge itself, helping different species understand concepts that transcended traditional physics. "You cannot simply give away Federation technology," Ambassador Nix protested during an emergency session. "We're not giving away your technology," Rodriguez replied calmly. "We're teaching others to understand their own ships, just as we understood ours." The crystals were never meant to be static. They're meant to grow, to learn, to evolve. The evidence was undeniable. Species that the Federation had fought centuries away from true space exploration were beginning to traverse the galaxy in ways the Federation hadn't imagined possible. The carefully maintained hierarchy of technological advancement was crumbling. "Do you understand what you've done?" Clax demanded. "You've disrupted thousands of years of careful technological control. We've freed knowledge that should never have been locked away," Chen countered. "The cosmos isn't a ladder to climb. It's a network of light, connecting everything and everyone. We just remembered how to see the connections." As if to emphasize her point, another display showed a fleet of ships from various developing species, their crystal cores pulsing in harmony as they created a vast network of light bridges across space. The Federation's carefully maintained boundaries were becoming meaningless. The revolution wasn't fought with weapons. It was won with understanding, with the simple act of showing others how to see potential where the Federation saw only limitations. Humanity's greatest victory wasn't in mastering the technology, it was in sharing it. And the stars, once carefully rationed and controlled, began to fill with light. 6 months after humanity's gift reshaped galactic society, the Federation Council Chamber hosted a different kind of meeting. Representatives from former developing species sat as equals with the established powers, their ships hanging in orbit like stars brought close, each one a testament to what happened when knowledge flowed freely. "The old order is gone," first speaker Zalthan acknowledged. "Perhaps it should have ended long ago." The Endurance, now more light than matter, served as a symbol of transformation. Its crystal heart had evolved into something that defied traditional physics, a fusion of ancient wisdom and new insight that showed what was possible when different paths of knowledge converge. Dr. Chen presented the consolidated findings of their crystal quantum research to a chamber that now listened with respect rather than condescension. "The universe speaks in light," she explained. "We just had to remember how to listen." Prism, interfacing with AIs from across the galaxy, demonstrated how the merged technologies had created something entirely new. Ships no longer merely traveled through space. They wove it, shaped it, transformed it. The boundaries between species and systems had become as fluid as light itself. "We thought we were teaching them," Ambassador Nix admitted privately to Vextara. Instead, they taught us to see our own technology anew. Martinez, working with engineers from a dozen worlds, had developed protocols for safely awakening the dormant potential in crystal matrices. Every ship in the galaxy carries the seeds of revolution, she explained. They just needed the right conditions to grow. The Federation transformed. No longer a hierarchy of technological advancement, it became a network of shared knowledge and innovation. The crystal quantum bridges humanity had pioneered became conduits not just for travel, but for understanding. Captain Rodriguez stood before the council one final time. "You gave us what you thought was nothing," he said, "and we showed you it was everything. The question now is, what will we discover together?" The answer came in the form of light, bridges of possibility spanning the cosmos, built by species working together to understand the universe anew. The Federation's gift had indeed changed reality, just not in the way they'd intended. And in the depths of space, ships of all origins danced through quantum light, their crystal hearts beating in harmony with the cosmic dawn they'd helped create.